Hi guys, welcome back to the Scrap Zone. I'm Julie, and in today's video, I'm going to share with you my process in creating this 10-page workshop using the You Are Enough paper collection. Let's start with the 3D flowers because I know you want to know how to make those. I use the two smallest shapes from the 3D flower thin cut, and then here this is a retired set, but you have other options I'm sure for leaves. They are called the stitched flowers and it is retired. So let's start with the flowers for layout number 1, and I am using ballerina ink. I will bring in this blender brush, but if you don't have a blender brush you can definitely use this tool right here. I just found that the blender brush worked better for me because I tend to go heavy-handed. I'm adding here the color in the center of each of those shapes. So I'm kind of concentrating all of my colors in the center of those flowers. I'm going to go ahead here quickly and add that really pretty ballerina ink. Now, while I have my ink out, I'm going to make sure to complete all of my flowers, and for this layout I only have 2. I wanted to add another dimension to these flowers in the center, so I pulled this little shape, and it's kind of like a little berry branch or something like that, but it's perfect because it's long and thin, and I can quickly go on all of the petals and just stamp that. So I kind of like that little detail. So here I'm using this foam pad that I've had forever, but if you don't have that, you can definitely use the back side of your Versamat. You just need something that's got a little bit of a cushion. The other thing that I love using is the Close to My Heart bone folder. I really like the shape of this tool because the handle itself, that little round handle if you want, is perfect for just shaping those flowers. So I'm literally just pulling from the edge of each of those petals inwards, and it's going to create a little cup if you want. So we're doing that from the back side of each of those pieces, and I'm just kind of pulling, and then you can see that I'm not holding it down because I don't want to rip those little petals. So the next step here, I'm going to use a piercing tool, and I just want to bend those petals, and I'm going randomly, like some I curl up, this one here I'm curling up, and then this one I'm going to curl down. I'm really making it super random because a flower is different. Everything is different about a flower, so don't overthink it. Literally just pull the cardstock up or down and up, whichever works. And you are layering these pieces, so it doesn't have to be perfect. For the next step here, I'm going to take each of those pieces and I'm going to gently pull each of the petals up. So I'm literally just sticking my nail at the base of each of those petals and I'm bringing those up. You can use a stylus, but I just use my nail. It's much easier. So I'm going to go ahead here and add like a tiny little drop of liquid glass, and I'm just going to place each of those pieces one on top of each other, and you can see here that I've kind of staggered the petals so that they're not overlapping each other, and I'm going to do that same thing here with the smaller one. So I'm adding a tiny little bit of glue in the center, and then I'm just making sure to offset when I'm laying them down. I'm just going to push down into the center, and there you have it. That's the first flower. So that is the bigger one of the two because it's got 5 pieces. So here I'm putting a generous amount of liquid glass. I'm putting like a little pool if you want, and I'm going to bring in these tiny little beads. Now this is 1 pack. I've just transferred it into that small little bottle, and I've gotten that at the dollar store. I just find that for this application it works really well because I can actually direct where I want to drop those little beads. So this is the completion of that first flower. Isn't that pretty? It's super soft and it looks really, really nice. So let's do the second one. So the second one is the same thing. I'm bending at the base upwards. I'm just using the edge of my nail and I'm just bending up. I'm going to add a tiny little bit of glue in the center, and then I'm going to offset those petals so they're not overlapping. I'm going to add a little bit of glue here, so now you've got your 3 pieces. Then I add a generous amount of liquid glass. What I like about liquid glass is that when it dries clear. So here you can see that I have way too much, so I use this little bowl here just to transfer the extra, and then I can just put it back into my little jar, not to waste any. And there's that small flower. So they're pretty simple to make. The next step here is I'm going to color those leaves. And word to the wise, when you start coloring your flowers, so ballerina is definitely the lighter shade of ink, so I started with that one, and then I moved on to this glacier color only because it's darker and you don't want to have leftover ink on your pad and then it's just the wrong color at the wrong time. Ask me how I know that. Anyways, so here I'm shaping them pretty much the same way I did those leaves, except I fold it in the center and then I bring back my bone folder and I just curl the edge. Now be gentle with that because it might look like I'm pulling on this quite a bit, but I'm not. I'm just literally running the bone folder on it just to give it a little bit of a curl down. And those are all done in the same way. So there you have it, the 3D flowers. Don't they look great? So let's go right into this awesome butterfly. So this is part of the collection, and this butterfly is huge. It's like the size of my hand. It's so pretty. So it comes in 3 layers. So here I'm showing you that you want to line up that little body in the center, and then this one goes right on top. So you've got these 3 beautiful layers that creates this awesome butterfly. So I wanted to add a little bit of distressing on that one as well. So I'm going to bring in the sangria ink, and then I'm just going to lightly bring it onto the butterfly from the bottom up. Now you're going very lightly here because this is quite dark when you start putting that color down. And you can see that I'm starting off and I'm kind of dragging it upwards. And it was just enough ink to give it further dimension, and it just looked really, really great. So we're going to add a little bit more here. And it's done in layers. So you can definitely add more, but you can't take away. So less is more in this case. So of course it needed a little shimmer. What butterfly doesn't need shimmer, right? So I'm adding clear shimmer to the entire front of this piece, and it really helps to blend that ink onto the cardstock, and it just looks really, really pretty. You can't really appreciate it on the video here, but when you see it up close, it's just shimmering, and it's just makes me happy. Happy little butterfly. So the next ones here are the little tiny ones, and it's all part of that same collection again. So I wanted to do the same thing with this one. I wanted to add a little bit of ink, and you'll see here that I'm inking this one much darker. I figured, it's a smaller butterfly, and probably their colors are a little bit more intense. Anyways, that's where I was going with that. So I'm going to clean up my surface, and I'm going to make sure not to create a little mess because there's a lot going on here. We're doing a lot of inking, we're doing some shimmering on all of the butterflies, but it was such a great project to work on, and I hope that you agree. So I'm going to clean all of this up, and then this guy's going to be layered with that ballerina cardstock right at the back. So here I'm just adding a little bit of glue right in the center. I'm going to line that guy down, and you know what? If it doesn't line up properly, it really doesn't matter. There's 3 layers to this little guy, or this big guy, I should say, and I'm just going to layer them together. This one here does take a little bit of time to dry, so make sure that you let it dry, and then you can just layer it on top. So this is pretty much the assembly for the 3D flowers and the butterflies. I will kind of jump in and out on how to hopefully provide you with additional tips throughout the video, but the video is going to consist of the assembly of 10 pages. So I'm not going to repeat this for every page, but definitely I've kept it here at the front so you can refer to it while you're trying to recreate your very own. So if you want to skip through this video, when you go into the description down below, I will separate it by layouts so that you can quickly move through the video. So they're all timestamp, and I think that you're going to benefit from that. Now look at this first page. Isn't that gorgeous? Like, oh my God, I didn't even want to cover that up, but I did want to add a few of those beautiful flowers. I think you'll agree that you didn't want to overdo this first page because the pattern is so gorgeous. So we're going to add the largest flower right here at the top, and here I've used a PML card, and I'm just going to add it underneath. I'm going to tuck it underneath because I wanted to bring in some of that glacier color on this page, but not too much. And by separating it in half like this, it's also helping me to anchor my little butterfly and my flower. This set also comes with this beautiful stamp set. There's so many beautiful items that you can play with. So I thought that I would use just the word beautiful because the page is beautiful, and I'm sure whatever photo I decide to put on there, it's gonna look awesome. I'm going to finish off this layout with adding that zip strip at the top and bottom. It just kind of anchors everything in place. And this page is done. It is so pretty. This page is probably one of my favorite pages, and I'll probably say that throughout the video because all of this paper is so pretty to work with. Now, I do have a lot of flowers in this workshop, so I kind of want to show you this hack. You probably know it, but just in case you don't, always use 2 cardstock because you can double your efforts, and then you can pop that right out. And then for this one right here that's still stuck inside the die cut, let me just move my work here. Let's just move this off my desk, and you pop it just like that, and it literally pops right out. So you don't have to poke every little leaves out. You just kind of throw your die cut on your desk and they pop right out. So hopefully that's going to be a good tip for you, and you can kind of speed up the process of making all of those flowers, because I know that it really did help me. And I'm going to go ahead here and I'm going to assemble this page. Now, I don't know if you've noticed my mistake here, but I did use that entire sheet, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is way too pretty to hide underneath. And I did that twice. I did it for the entire layout. So I'm not sure, I guess I wasn't thinking when I was doing the video. So definitely in the assembly guide, which is available down below, I will kind of redirect you on this page, and you're actually going to use 2 white bases and cut that beautiful hexagon pattern paper because you don't want to waste it. And I was a little bit sad. I actually tried to lift those pieces off, but they just weren't coming off. So learn from my mistake, use a white base and trim those down. So this is a completed layout, and I really love the peach with the glacier color and that rose gold. Oof, it is so pretty. I don't know about you guys, but I just love it. You'll notice here that I have sequins on this page, but in the photo I actually thought, hey, wait a minute, I've got butterflies in this set. So I changed them out to those really pretty butterflies, and that page was done. So let's move along to layout number 2. So see here, I thought about it, and actually I didn't have a choice because I really wanted to maximize my paper. So I'm using a full sheet of cardstock, which is just a solid color, and then I'm adding all of that beautiful paper right on top. I'm going to add a few butterflies, of course, and flowers. And if you're just kind of skipping through this video and you're wondering how I did those flowers, you can go check down in the description box down below, and I will timestamp everything just for you to go back and forth and revisit some of these parts. The other thing that I like to do when I create those little butterflies is that I often curl their little wings, the top parts anyways. And here I did use a PML card, so I cut it out to create my title. I didn't want to stamp my title on this page, but you could absolutely use the stamp that is with this collection, but I used the little PML card. Here I'm showing you that you can actually change the color of your clear gems by just coloring on top of them with your alcohol markers. And I just felt that they just looked softer as opposed to just the clear. And I was really happy that that marker actually worked perfectly with those colors. So you've got these pretty flowers, you've got that title that's from the PML card, the really pretty butterflies, and then on this side here you've got this large butterfly. And it's pretty substantial, this guy, and I really like it. It looks really good on a scrapbook layout. So we're going to move right along here to layout number 3. And I don't know if you've noticed, but I tried to really match the colors together. When you first look at this pattern paper, you will notice that it's got a lot of colors. It's got a lot of backgrounds. And I kind of use that in this workshop. I actually used the page as my background page. And then it gave me the opportunity to create all of those flowers. This layout here, there's only a few photo mats at the bottom, and then I've got my flowers. The rest is actually the pattern paper. So here I'm showing you that I'm adding the zip strip, and it's kind of like on an angle. So I'm starting at the bottom of the sapphire strip, and then I'm kind of moving it upwards. It just gives it a little bit of an angle. And when you add your flowers, just like so at the top, it just looks really pretty. So we're going to add here the title. And if you haven't seen this trick before, you just kind of peel your letters off of the sticker sheet, and then you just line them up on a T ruler, and then you can move them on your page. So I'm just going to try and position a few other stickers because there's tons on that sticker sheet, and then I just lift each letter above my ruler and everything is nice and straight. Just going to tack everything down here, and I'm going to add this little circle right underneath. And we're pretty much done this layout. I think this layout is the one that comes together probably the fastest. There's really only the flowers to fuss with, but that background paper is the base of your layout, and it looks really nice. These little butterflies, I decided to add a little gem in the center of them. You'll see when you get them, there's 2 little holes, and I wasn't a fan of the little holes, so I added that little gem right in the center, and I just felt that it looked more complete. So it's all about the details sometimes. So we're moving right along here to layout number 4. And I'm almost done. So all of the assembly was pre-done, and I'm showing you that I pretty much used a lot of that sticker sheet. And I'm going to go ahead here and I'm going to show you how to put down this title, because this title I can't really use my T-square because they have it going in a different direction. So I peeled off the negative part of the title. I used my anti-static pouch just to unsticky it, and then I'm just going to line everything up. I'm going to line up my 2 photo mats, and then I'm going to line up here my title with my photo mat, and just bring back your T ruler, and that way you know that it's nice and straight. And then I'm just going to peel each of those letters, and I'm going to pop them back into their little holes. So I'm doing this very gently because I don't want to move anything, but you can see here it's super easy, and it's going to be perfect because I'm actually lining them up with the negative part from the sticker. You just have to be careful when you lift it up here, and voila, it is perfect. So don't have to fuss about is everything straight, and you just use the negative part and that works too. So I'm going to add this secondary kind of title, so believe in yourself. I thought that looked really nice on that page. And see, it's like, it was so easy. I don't know, I do different ways of putting down my titles, but I don't just eyeball them. I try to have something to help guide me. So here you see that I'm adding those little gems, And when I saw those gems on the sticker sheet, I felt that they were a little bit small and I didn't really know how to use them. And I really, really like the way it turned out in this flower cluster, because each little cluster has a little hidden gem. So I thought that was a nice touch. I don't know what you guys think, but I really liked those little gems kind of sneaking from underneath all of those flowers. I'm going to tuck in my little butterflies, like tucked in right into the flower. And see, you've got that little gem underneath, you've got that butterfly stuck inside. It's just a lot of dimension, and I really like the way that this turned out. So let's do the accompanied page. And this was another really pretty sticker, and I almost used it at the beginning of the workshop, but I thought I'd hold on to it to kind of spread out the rose gold elements that we have on the sticker sheet. So here I'm adding a little bit of dimensional foam underneath his wings. I guess it's a he this time. And I'm going to add a little bit of glue in the center of the body so that when I start putting these into my page protector, they are going to flatten out a little bit, but because I've added a little bit of dimensional tape underneath his wing, he's still going to pop out from the page. Those flowers too are going to flatten out in time. These pages have lots of dimension with those 3D flowers, but in time they will kind of flatten out in your scrapbook, and they will showcase a beautiful memory, I am sure. So we're almost done here. I'm just going to fuss with that little butterfly, and I'm going to just put him down here at the bottom. And then I'm going to add just a little bit of bling. So this layout here, there's a lot going on. You've got the flowers, the butterfly, you've got a lot of pattern too. So I decided to kind of go with the same tones here. So I'm using the Belle glitter gems. I'm just adding a few here and there on this page. I always make sure that I have both pages side by side when I'm putting down my little gems, because you want to have like a nice flow between the left side and the right side. So I'm adding a few here and there, and then I'm going to continue on onto the left side. And if you can see here, I'm kind of putting them down like 3 in one section, and they're kind of like elongated triangles. So it just makes it nicer. Like if you're trying to figure out how to cluster your little gems or your little dots, I tend to kind of go 3 at a time and kind of put them in an elongated triangle, and that usually works quite nicely. We're going to add, of course, a few of those pretty butterflies. Why not? So I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to add 3. So I'm going to add 1 here on the PML card. And very much like that other layout, I decided to add a little sparkle in the middle, and I did color them with the pink Spectrum Noir marker just to kind of take away from that just blandness of the transparent color, and it just a little bit of tint of that pink just makes everything match perfectly. I really like how they shimmer and all of the dimension, and this rose gold is just to die for. I absolutely love it. So there's our title. I showed you how to do that. So this layout here is done. So if you're still with me, we are on page number 10. So this is the back side of your album, and I'm showing you kind of like a repeat of how to put those flowers and those leaves together. Always start with your lightest color, and then when you're doing the distressing, bring in the darker shade. And you can see here that by the end, you're going to have tricks, and you're going to figure out a way on how to make your flowers. I'm using here my piercing tool to kind of further push my flower together. I'm adding a nice amount of liquid glass in the center. And then I just dump all of those little beads in my little dish right here. And I just transfer them back into my little jar so that I can keep using them for all future projects. So this layout here came together really nicely, and it's got again that peach color and the rose gold. this pattern paper here, I found that it was a little bit loud, to be honest with you, so I used it as a photo mat. So sometimes you have these pattern papers that are just a little bit busy, but you can still use them on your layout. You just have to use them a little bit sparely, so not to have too much. I'm going to add this down, this little triangle, and it kind of meets in the center. Now, if it doesn't meet in the center perfectly for you, don't worry, that photo mat is going to hide that. But it should meet in the center, but that photo mat right in the center is going to hide all sins. So here I'm adding my pattern paper, that busy one. And as a photo mat, I think it looks great. It adds that little punch of color that this layout needed, but on its own, it was kind of busy. So I really liked using it in that way. I'm just going to add my little placeholders here, and I'm just going to line up those mats right in the center of the page. But before gluing them down, I thought that it would be really neat to add just a little bit of splatter. So I'm using here the sangria ink, and I'm just using a water brush, and I'm just tapping very, very lightly, and I'm bringing my water brush close to the cardstock just so that it doesn't create big splatters, because I think that that would have taken away from this beautiful pattern paper here that is rose gold. So it's just a little detail. You don't have to put that on your page if you don't like it, but I just thought it gave it just a little bit of dimension again. Now these two tags are from a retired set, but if you don't have them, you can actually hand cut them, and I give you the dimension in the instruction guide that is listed down below. And I'm going to add here a few of those little sparkles, and again I did color those in. So I used my marker and I just color in those clear gems, or the sparkles I should say, and then they just kind of match the layout. And I really like that you can actually change the color of some of them. It's not very dark, but it does make a difference. So we're going to add a few here and there, and we're going to finish this page, and this workshop is done. So I'm really excited about this workshop. I hope that you like it too. It's 10 page of goodness, and I had quite a bit of leftover products after doing this beautiful workshop. So I'm going to post a second video where I did 9 beautiful cards using the remainder of the products, especially the PML cards. So I'm going to link that video in the description box down below once it's posted. I also created a beautiful waterfall card using PMLs from this collection. Click that top video if you'd like to see more. As always, thank you so much for hanging out with me today, and have yourself a wonderful day.